Today we are going to talk about routes of drug administration. In that we'll first discuss factors which governs the choice of route of drug administration. In that we have physical and chemical properties of a drug. Physical and chemical properties of a drug. Then site of the desired action, whether we need a localized or generalized action. Then the rate and extent of absorption of a drug. Rate and extent of absorption of a drug, or in simple words we can say bioavailability. What is rate and extent of absorption of drug? That is mean the bioavailability of drug also governs the choice of route of drug administration. Then the effect of digestive juices and first pass metabolism. When the drugs are given orally, the drugs which are destroyed by the digestive juices and drugs which undergoes extensive first pass metabolism, that things will decide the choice of route of drug administration. Then rapidity with which the drug response is desired. In case of routine treatment we can prefer oral route of drug administration, but in case of emergency we need parenteral route. Accuracy of dosage required. Whenever there is a accuracy of dosage required, we should go for the inhalational and intravenous route of drug administration. And these intravenous and inhalational route will provide fine tuning with the plasma concentration. Condition of the patient, like patient is unconscious, patient has vomiting, diarrhea, then we have to decide accordingly that which route has to be preferred. Age of the patient and associated diseases. So all these are the factors which governs the route of drug administration. Basically, this route of drug administration we are classified into the local and systemic. Local, or we can say topical routes. In local or topical routes, first of all, when the drug is applied to the skin and mucous membrane, when the drug is applied to the skin and mucous membrane at various sites for the localized action, means mostly these are the drugs which acts by the locally or topically. For example, in case of oral candidiasis, nystatin is a drug of choice because candidiasis, the causative agent is a Candida albicans. So we have to give the antifungal drug. But we prefer this nystatin antifungal drug as a suspension, or cotrimazole as a troch or lozenges, or we can prefer clotrimazole cream in oral candidiasis. In herpes labialis, we prefer acyclovir as a drug of choice, but in the form of ointment because it affects the lips. Then for topical anesthesia, you can prefer 5 to 10 percent of lignocaine spray. Then bowel clearance before surgery, you can give neomycin tablets. Neomycin is an aminoglycoside, so it will not going to absorb orally from the GI tract. When it is given orally, it is not absorbed systemically. The action is localized, so it will cause bowel clearance for the surgery. Then rectum and anal canal. What is mean by enema and what is mean by suppositories? Enema means administration of a drug into the rectum in a liquid form, that is enema. Then suppositories means administration of a drug into the rectum in a solid form is a suppositories. Now we have evacuant enema and retention enema. Evacuant enema means for the evacuation of the bowel. Mostly this evacuant enema is used for the evacuation of the bowel in case of constipation, in case of surgeries, in case of various radiographic procedures. We use this evacuant enema. Then evacuant enema, for example, soap water enema is used, or sodium phosphate enema is also used. Soap water enema or sodium phosphate enema. So soap will act as a lubricant and water will act as a stimulant. Soap water enema. Soap will act as a lubricant, and water will act as a stimulant. Then we can use these things like a retention enema for the therapeutic purpose, steroids in ulcerative colitis. Steroids in ulcerative colitis, so we'll prefer methylprednisolone in ulcerative colitis for the therapeutic purpose. Then suppositories, administration of drug into the rectum in a solid form. We have bisacodyl suppositories for the evacuation of bowel, paracetamol suppositories or indomethacin suppositories for the febrile illness, or you can also use the indomethacin or paracetamol suppositories for the systemic effects. Mostly it is given in the febrile illness in children's. Then we have vaginal suppositories, urethral suppositories, right? Then in case of eyes, ears and nose, we can use the eye drops, ear drops, ointments or spray. In case of bronchi, mostly we prefer the inhalational route. Salbutamol and other antiasthmatic drugs are given via inhalational route. Then in case of vagina, we can use tablets, creams, pessaries, urethral jellies are present, and in case of skin, we use the ointment, cream, lotion and powder. So basically all these things that we have discussed, we can use, these are the different sites where we can use the topical preparations. All these are the sites where we can use the topical preparations. Now, when we say deeper tissues, when we say there is a deeper tissues like intra-articular injection, deeper tissues, intra-articular injection, administration of a triamcinolone into the joint space in rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Intra-articular injection means administration of a steroid. What is triamcinolone? Triamcinolone is a steroid. And where we inject that steroid directly into the joint space, as you can see here. And we prefer this intra-articular injection in rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Then we have retrobulbar injection. As the name suggests, retrobulbar local anesthetic is injected into the retrobulbar space. As you can see in the diagram, this is the retrobulbar space. So local anesthetic is injected into the retrobulbar space for various ocular surgeries. Then intra-arterial route. There is a difference. Intra-articular means administration of a drug into the joint spaces, and intra-arterial means site is the lumen of the artery. Now what is the advantage? Greater concentration of the drug is delivered directly. Greater concentration of drug is delivered. Now which drugs are preferred via intra-arterial route? Anti-cancer drugs in femoral or brachial artery to localize the effect of limb malignancies, or you can use in case of radiographic contrast media and angiography. So coronary angiography, cerebral angiography, these are all done through this intra-arterial route. When we say coronary angiography or cerebral angiography, intra-arterial route is preferred. But in this case, expertise and asepsis is required. Now we'll discuss the systemic route. We all know systemic routes means there is a, first of all, we'll discuss the oral route of drug administration. Advantages of oral route of drug administration, like it is the oldest and commonest, we all know. It is much safer, cheaper, painless, in non-invasive, can be self-administered and convenient for the repeated and prolonged use. Right? It is the cheaper and painless. Cheaper means there is no need of any aseptic precautions, right? Painless because it's a non-invasive method. Can be self-administered, no need of any assistance, and it is convenient for the repeated and prolonged use. Means if antihypertensives or antidiabetic medications or medications for your heart illness, so lifelong therapies can be conveniently given by this route. So it is convenient for the repeated and prolonged use. But what are the disadvantages or limitations of oral route of drug administration? Action is very slow, that's why it is not suitable for emergency. Unpalatable drugs like chloramphenicol, because of its bitter in taste, they are difficult to administer. Chloramphenicol, because of bitter taste, they are difficult to administer. Oral route, it may cause GI side effects like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Then it can used for non-cooperative. It cannot be used for non-cooperative, unconscious or vomiting patients. Right? These are the limitations. It cannot be used for non-cooperative patients or in unconscious patient or those who suffer from the vomiting. Then certain drugs are not absorbed if given by this route. Certain drugs are not absorbed. Why? Because they are highly polar, highly ionized drugs like streptomycin or all aminoglycosides. They are not absorbed if they are given by oral route of drug administration because they are highly polar or highly ionized drug. Then certain drugs are destroyed by the gastric juices. For example, penicillin G and insulin. Penicillin G or insulin, they are destroyed by the gastric juices. Or the drugs like nitroglycerin and testosterone or lignocaine, they are extensively metabolized. They are extensively metabolized in the first pass metabolism in the liver or in the GIT. Then next is the sublingual route. Sublingual route, the drug is placed beneath the tongue or under the tongue or crushed in the mouth or spread over the buccal mucosa. Sublingual route, the drug is placed under the tongue or you can crush in the mouth or spread over the buccal mucosa. Drug is absorbed through the buccal mucous membrane via sublingual veins. Drug is absorbed through the buccal mucosa via sublingual veins. Now, why not all drugs are given via sublingual route when they are absorbed directly? When they are absorbed directly, why not all drugs are given sublingually? Because only lipid soluble and non-irritant drugs are preferred via sublingual route. Only lipid soluble and non-irritant drugs can be given via sublingual route. That's why not all drugs can be given sublingually. Now, what are the advantages? Quick onset of action. Action can be terminated by spitting out the tablet, right? Quick onset of action because drugs is directly absorbed through the sublingual veins, means drug directly goes to the blood via sublingual veins. That's why rapid onset of action or quick onset of action. Action can be terminated by spitting out the tablet. Once you get the desired effect, you can spit out the tablet to avoid the side effects. Then liver is bypassed and drugs with high first pass metabolism can be absorbed directly into the systemic circulation. That is the most important advantage. Self administration is possible. For example, they have given nitroglycerin for the acute anginal attack, buprenorphine for the acute myocardial infarction. Now, what are the disadvantages? It is not suitable for the irritant and lipid insoluble drugs and drugs with the bad test. Now, rectal route of drug administration. Certain irritant and unpleasant drugs can be put into rectum. Irritant and unpleasant drugs. We have just seen suppositories or retention enema for the systemic effect. So this can be used when the patient is having recurrent vomiting or in unconscious patient. Absorption is slower, irregular and often unpredictable. Absorption through the rectum is slow, irregular, often unpredictable, or you can say the absorption is erratic. Now, why? Because there is a presence of fecal matter in the rectum and that will interfere with the absorption of drug. And one more thing, rectal route is quite inconvenient and embarrassing for the patient as well as for the doctor. Now, drug is absorbed into the external hemorrhoidal veins. In case of sublingual route, drug is absorbed through sublingual veins. In case of rectal route, drug absorbed into the external hemorrhoidal vein and bypasses liver. It bypasses liver and directly goes to the systemic circulation. Rectal inflammation can result from the irritant drugs. As we said, we can put the unpleasant and irritant drugs, but it may cause the rectal inflammation. So examples like diazepam is given for the status epilepticus or indomethacin for the febrile convulsions. Indomethacin for the febrile convulsions or diazepam for the status epilepticus. Right? Now we'll see the transdermal route of drug administration. Transdermal, or we can say transdermal patch or transdermal therapeutic system. So in this case we have the outer covering, right? Then we have the medicine reservoir, and medicine reservoir as you can see here, and there is a porous membrane, right? And this is the skin where we apply the transdermal patch. So outer covering, then medicine reservoir, then there is a porous membrane, and there is a skin. Now from the medicine reservoir there is a diffusion of medicine across porous membrane into the skin, and the drug will be absorbed into the skin. First of all, there is outer covering, then there is a medicine reservoir, then there is a porous membrane. So medicine reservoir, or we can say there is a diffusion of medicine across the porous membrane into the skin. Now transdermal therapeutic system. So adhesive patches of various size and shapes like 5 to 20 centimeters depend upon the requirement. Adhesive patches of various size and shape which deliver the contained drug at a constant rate. This is important. Deliver the drug at a constant rate into the systemic circulation via the stratum corneum. The drug will absorb through the skin via the particular layer that is called as the stratum corneum. The drug in solution or bound to the polymer is held in reservoir between occlusive backing film and rate controlling micropore membrane. Right? The drug in solution is held in reservoir, medicine reservoir. As you can see here, this is the medicine reservoir, and occlusive backing means there is outer covering and there is a rate controlling micropore membrane. This is the porous membrane, rate controlling micropore membrane. Right? Okay. Now what are the various sites where we can apply these transdermal patches? We can apply on the chest, abdomen, upper arm, lower back, buttocks or mastoid region. These are the various sites where we can apply. Now what are the various drugs that we can prefer in the form of transdermal patch? You can prefer the nitroglycerin patch for the prophylaxis of angina. It is not given for the acute attack or for the therapeutic purpose. It is for the prophylactic purpose of angina. Estrogen for the hormone replacement therapy. Scopolamine for the motion sickness and sialorrhea. Nicotine for the cigarette smoking. Fentanyl for the chronic pain, and clonidine as an antihypertensive. These are all the examples of transdermal patch. Advantages: self-administration is possible, right? Patient compliance is better because duration of action is increased. Means most of the transdermal patches available means duration of action is 72 hours or more than that. So patient compliance is better. Systemic side effects are very less, and it will provide smooth constant plasma concentration, and that's why systemic side effects are very less. Now what is the disadvantages? It is quite expensive. Local irritation may cause dermatitis and patch may fall unnoticed. Now inhalational route. Volatile liquid and gases are given by inhalational route for systemic action like general anesthetics. Most of the general anesthetics are given via inhalational route. Nasal route means GnRH agonist and desmopressin applied as a spray or given via nebulized solution. So this is the inhalational or nasal route. Then we will discuss the parenteral route of drug administration. Parenteral route of drug administration, when the degree of that needle, means angle of the needle when it is 90%, that is called as the intramuscular injection. The angle of subcutaneous route is 45%, as you can see. In case of intravenous, the angle should be 25%, and intradermal the angle is 10%. Right? Angle is 10%, 25%, 45 and 90%. Then epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous tissue and muscle. So accordingly you have to inject the drugs in that particular region. Parenteral route. Advantages of parenteral route: drug action is fast, valuable in emergency. It is suited for the emergency or valuable in emergency. Gastric irritation and vomiting is not provoked. Employed in unconscious, uncooperative and vomiting patients. Then no chance of interfere with the food or with the digestive juices. Liver is bypass. So these are the advantages. Disadvantages are: the preparation has to be sterilized and hence it is costlier. The technique is invasive and painful. Assistance of another person is mostly needed. Through self-injection is not possible. Means self-injection is not possible with intramuscular, intravenous, intradermal. Only you can inject the subcutaneous injection. For example, insulin by diabetics. Self-injection is possible. In case of subcutaneous route, insulin is given via subcutaneous route. So there are chances of local tissue injury in general, and parenteral route is more riskier than the oral. Now subcutaneous route. First of all, subcutaneous route. Dermojet. In dermojet, needle is not used. So it is a penless. If needle is not used, so it is penless. So what is used? A high velocity jet of drug solution. A high velocity jet of drug solution is projected from a microfine orifice using a gun-like implement. So you have seen the insulin pen. Insulin pen is the best example of dermojet. So needle is not used. A high velocity jet of drug solution is projected from a microfine orifice using a gun-like implement. It is essentially penless and suited for mass inoculation. Then pellet implantation and cellulosic implants. The drug in the form of solid pellet is introduced with a trocar and cannula, for example, testosterone. Cellulosic implants like non-biodegradable and biodegradable implants. So you can use for the hormones and for the contraceptives subcutaneously. Pellet implantation and cellulosic implants. Intradermal route of drug administration. The drug is injected into the layers of skin. Intradermal layers of skin. So you have to form the bleb or scarring. If it is the skin, there is a formation of bleb or scarring or multiple punctures. It is very painful because there are presence of nerve endings. That's what is very painful. And we need very trained medical staff. Self-administration is not possible at all. We need expertise person. Small amount can be given 0.1 to 0.5 ml can inject only. And it is done with BCG vaccination and drug sensitivity test. Penicillin sensitivity test or any drug sensitivity test, it is done via intradermal route. Then BCG vaccination is done through intradermal route. Intramuscular route, most commonly used route of drug administration, intramuscular. What are the various sites where we can inject? Deltoid, tricep, gluteus maximus, rectus femoris. Now 5 to 10 ml you can inject at once, at a time. Absorption is more rapid as compared to the intradermal and subcutaneous. So you can give the mild irritants. You can also give the depot preparations like oily solution, aqueous suspension can be given via this route. Now what are the limitations of this route? Aseptic precautions you have to maintain. It is invasive, it is quite painful because it goes into the muscle, so it is quite painful. it may cause abscess. Then intramuscular injection should be avoided in anticoagulant treated patients because it may lead to local hematoma. It may cause nerve injury if it is given wrongly. Then intravenous route of drug administration. The drug is directly injected into the bloodstream through a vein. That's why bioavailability is 100%. The drug is directly injected into the bloodstream through a vein. There are three types of injections. There are three types of intravenous injections. First is the bolus, second is the slow intravenous injection, and third is the intravenous infusion. What is meant by bolus? Single relatively large dose of drug rapidly or slowly is given into the vein. That is called as bolus. Single relatively large dose of drug is given rapidly or slowly depending upon the condition of the patient into the vein. It is mostly given in the ranitidine in the bleeding peptic ulcer as a single bolus dose. Then slow intravenous injection like morphine in myocardial infarction. Slow intravenous injection. Then next is the intravenous infusion. Intravenous infusion, it is very common. Infused slowly over hours in one of the superficial veins. Means IV fluids like in dehydration like normal saline, DNS, RL, or anything like that. Mannitol infusion in the cerebral edema. You can give dopamine infusion in the cardiogenic shock. Now, what are the advantages? Bioavailability is 100% because we directly injected into the vein, into the blood, into the systemic circulation. Quickest onset of action. Obviously, it's a choice of route in emergency. Large volume of fluid can be given. There is no limit. There is a large volume of fluids can be given. Highly retent anti-cancer drugs also can be given. Hypertonic saline solutions can be infused. Constant plasma level can be maintained. Constant plasma level can be maintained. Response is accurately measurable. Response is accurately measurable in case of hypertensive crisis or hypertensive emergency. You have to you can accurately measure the blood pressure, and drugs which are shorter acting like sodium nitroprusside means titration of dose is possible. Titration of dose is possible in case of emergency. Now, what are the disadvantages? The intima of vein is insensitive. The intima of vein is insensitive. That's why drug will get diluted with the blood, and even highly retent drugs can be injected because the intima of vein is insensitive. But hazards like there is a chance of thrombophlebitis. There is a chance of thrombophlebitis of the injected vein, or there is a chance of necrosis of the adjoining tissue if the extravasation occurs. And this is the most riskiest route because all the vital organs like heart, brain, kidney get exposed to the higher concentration of the drug. And what is the problem with this? Once the drug is injected, you cannot halt the action because the drug is directly goes to the blood. So once the drug is injected, action cannot be halted. So all these are the disadvantages of intravenous route of drug administration. So this is all about the routes of drug administration in detail. That's it.